protest very peacefully through the town of Riverside, and then at about 6 o'clock, when they were told to go home, they even gave them an extra hour. They didn't say go home until 7, and then all of a sudden they refused to go home. Everyone started yelling, and then there was it was just a domino effect of people just falling on each other. And so this is SWAT coming through right now. They've been on standby behind the sheriff's deputies, and they're coming in right now. Watch out, there's a firework. You saw earlier today, Alex, and I'm just going to talk while this is going on. There was a really powerful moment between the protesters and Sheriff Chad Bianco. You know, they kind of met in the middle in an
Your
intersection.
office?
Orange
Yes.
Yeah,
they
you can
said,
see their office.
let's come together, you know, and there was a lot of heated discussion, and the protesters saying, we're being told to move back, I'm sorry, the protesters saying, you know, we want to end police brutality, and then the sheriff saying, you know, we're on your side.
So what happened since then?
So basically, since the sheriff took a knee in solidarity, it has been a standoff, a peaceful standoff between the sheriff's deputies and the protesters, and they've just been, it was kind of like the calm before the storm. I think everyone was waiting a lot of tension, just kind of waiting for this moment, and we are also hearing that the looting has started as well. I don't have that confirmed, but I've heard that they are looting the CVS in Riverside. But all of a sudden, just in the last couple minutes, here it comes again. Watch out, Justin.
Uh-oh.
That was right on top of the sheriff's deputies.
Whoa, so that was the protesters through that?
Yeah, here it comes again. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you can see the water bottles. There was a screwdriver thrown at Sheriff Bianco. Honestly, this has been so different than all the other protests. This has been peaceful. It stayed calm. It's finally like they were getting their message heard without the violence and without the looting. And I was so proud of the way that they were handling this in Riverside. And now it's just they're not letting up. They're not going home like they're supposed to.
Let me ask you this question. You were talking with the one organizer there who was talking directly with the sheriff, and they all got on their knee together. There was conversation, there were handshakes. Do you see that gentleman, or has he left, and is it just a different crowd that's kind of taken over here?
I can't even explain what happened other than it was like the running of the bulls, Christine. Like all of a sudden, there was just this mad rush, everyone falling on top of each other. I have no idea where that guy is right now. We're behind the sheriff's deputies, and the protesters are on the other side of the intersection on 9th. It was just... Sorry, what is it, Justin?
Sheriff,
okay.
Police chief.
Maybe we can try talking to the sheriff really quick. Justin, you want to come?
I don't know if he's going to...
This is the sheriff and the police chief. Okay, they want us to say that. So okay, no problem. That's okay. All right, thank you. So that's Corporal Murphy. Are you able to talk to us about what's going on?
We're going to have to ask you to either go back around or go on the other side.
Okay, no problem. So, yeah, they're in tactical formation right now, and so they don't want us to move. We're going to stay behind this tree.
And obviously your safety is our first priority right now.
Yeah, we're fine right now. We're behind a lot of sheriff's deputies, but they don't want us to move. We're actually on live TV right now, but we can move right after that.
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay, thank you. So, kind of taking back what happened, Christine, to answer your question. So the sheriff got down on one knee. There was shaking of hands. It seemed like they had made peace, and then all of a sudden, they just started yelling again, and then there was this kind of peaceful standoff for about an hour between the sheriff's deputies and the protesters. And then this all of a sudden just happened out of nowhere. The fireworks started, and we kind of knew something's coming, and then a couple minutes after the fireworks, it was that mad rush that reminded me of the original.
We've been hearing a lot about restraint seen in Los Angeles. We're going to show that video of that moment, the sheriff right there of Riverside County, and a couple of the organizers there in this protest saying, take a knee, take a knee. You see the one deputy there, take a knee. And look at this moment as they're connecting, and the sheriff there takes a knee.
Oh God, Justin, watch out!
Okay,
Justin,
let's go live.
That's a live firework right there. I just want to make sure they're throwing fireworks all over the place, and I just want to make sure that my photographer's okay. We're going to go to the right really quick. see they've made a line right here. You know, I have to say they've been really good, and they've been really understanding with the protesters. I mean, they've been shouting in their faces and rightfully trying to get their message heard, but I mean, you know, I think they've been very respectful, and it's turned into the same thing we've been seeing all weekend.
Good thing I'm not at the Riverside.
Yeah, that's you lucky.
I was going to go there with my gun and sit in there.
And hopefully they'll help to protect you in this process too. Don't get on the wrong side of that line.
What was that, Justin? Say that again, Justin?
They've moved us outside their line.
Yeah, so we're outside of the sheriff's deputies line right now. You know, from covering this the last few days, I think the common denominator that I've come up with is everyone's after peace. It's peace from the looting, peace from the violence, peace from the police brutality, peace from not feeling like your voice is heard or not feeling like you matter. And that's what everyone is saying at the same time. I mean, that's what I've come up with. And I thought we finally reached that common ground when the sheriff and the protesters took a knee together and shook hands, and, you know, we're even seen laughing together for a moment. And then all of a sudden, it's this again.
Well, you have obviously people who want to defy that curfew order, that curfew time. It's now 7:30 here in Southern California. You know, law enforcement, they don't like when projectiles are thrown at them or when, you know, things go awry that can be dangerous for them. They all want to go home to their families as well. So you see them taking a different stand here in the two intersections there. You know, Haley, you've been out there all day. You've seen it change from a peaceful protest to honor the life of George Floyd, to honor him and to remember him and to mark his death.
And it was so beautiful, Christine, earlier when Haley was talking to those protesters as they were walking together, and they were explaining some of what they had to say about what they view as systemic injustices and changes and unity, and many of them were calling out the protesters, or the looters, I should say, as not being representative of them, and you had such a great dialogue with the people out there for hours walking the streets of Riverside today, and now to see this.
I don't know if you guys can still hear me. We just got an emergency alert on our phone.
What is that saying?
So I'm going to bring it up. I just took a screenshot of it. I think it's just saying that the curfew is in effect. That started at 6, but here it is. Emergency alert, countywide curfew, now until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Go home, stay home. And this was supposed to happen at 6 p.m. And like I said, they gave them another hour to try to get their voices heard. And like I said, it was peaceful. It was different than the other ones we've seen that had turned violent. I was so proud to see that this one was peaceful, and now it's
Haley,
starting to turn other.
We're going to let you stay with your scene there. Stay safe. Keep us posted. Right now, we're going to go to another person.
And I understand that there's concern that we had flagged down the cops, and perhaps that we had a part. That I just want to, you know, as much as I would like to personally say that I am not affected and I can look at something completely detached, if I see a situation where somebody's going to get hurt, and I really thought those people might end up getting hurt. The officers were coming back. They had seen us on TV. They later told us. But yeah, I'm going to flag them down to try to escalate it. For those people who are tweeting to us and talking to us, I understand your point of view. I really do. And I mean no offense by it. And we can agree to disagree. But when you see people possibly getting hurt and you see police coming by, she was flagging down the cops. Her husband was flagging down the cops. And I was going to flag them down too to see if we could de-escalate it. Just because I know people are watching. Thank you so much. I'm going to see if I can find her.
Yeah.
And let's talk to her.
And I know there's been some people that have asked questions about me asking questions at that time too, and I just want to clarify. We appreciate the cops. We appreciate what they do. We appreciate the difficult decisions that are made at that time. I immediately, when that happened, there were a lot of people that were very concerned because they had just sort of fallen in love with that woman. They saw her flag them down, and then the first thing that happened as soon as they arrived was she was arrested. And I know that concerned a lot of people that were watching. So we tried to get clarity from the spokesperson for LAPD about that. He answered our question. We got more clarity, and we had a nice, productive conversation, and everybody was released. So we're glad that we went through that. It was an emotional moment for all of us.
Yeah. I'm going to go try to find her, and let's see if
Okay.
we can get some comments from her. So let me
Okay.
see if I can go get her.
All right, Christina, we'll check in with you in a little bit. Now we are looking at protests on the streets of Riverside right now, where it is after dark. And this may be a firework that's being set or a fire in the middle of the street. We've seen some of these protesters throwing fireworks towards the sheriff's department. Our Haley Winslow was on the ground there with the sheriff's department when fireworks were thrown towards her direction. Thankfully, she was not hit, but it escalated quickly in Riverside, which has been the scene of a pretty peaceful protest most of the day. Unfortunately, a few sort of knuckleheads left behind. And when we spoke with some of those people, Christine, they seemed, like rational, good, interesting people. But there are a few people that are causing problems there in Riverside.
And even the one young man that Haley talked to, she pointed out wasn't necessarily causing problems,
Right.
except the problem is there is a curfew in effect. And as you'd hear from yesterday from the LAPD chief, go home. All right, let's go to Ed Lascos, who is following things for us.